have a number of really great presentations that I'm looking forward to. The first one is this afternoon. We've got 4 clients coming to sit on a panel. They represent a variety of companies, from fast-moving consumer goods to apparel to online financial services to big media. And so we're going to have Sebastian Leone from the Mars Corporation. We're going to have Libby Nooner from Invista, the makers of Lycra. We're going to have Stacy Schulman from Turner. And we're also going to have a representative from Intuit to talk about work we've done really in a variety of different spaces, from new product launch to optimizing website conversion, through optimizing television commercials, and to really working with a media company to think about the environment they create and how that's unique for their advertisers. The other thing that's great about this panel is we're going to talk not about case studies, but about process. How do companies come to use biometrics and neuromarketing? Where does it fit in? How does it complement traditional work? And how do you get the best value out of that? And I think that's going to be great for the audience to sort of hear from real practitioners how they did it. The process is just like any new technology. You have to start modestly, and usually that's an initial project that is used as a case study. And hopefully that case study can really demonstrate the value that unconscious measures bring, which is deeper insights, answering questions that you can't with traditional measures, and doing it in a way and with a language that our clients can use for their internal clients, in a sense selling for us. Because our champions then have to convince other people who may not have bought into the value or fully understand why they're doing something different, how they should and can do that. And what we hear all the time is, it takes time, it takes patience, but once these big company systems start to change, it becomes very exciting, because what we want to be is part of day-to-day decisions, not just special occasion use. One of the most recent ones is for this online financial services company who had a problem with their website. And in particular, there was a page, what's called a conversion page, that people were coming up to and then couldn't get past. And that company had worked very hard for literally 3 years to try to figure out what is it about this particular point in time that is getting our customers hung up. And so we did an exhaustive study that I think exemplifies really the best of what biometrics and eye tracking have to offer, and complementing that with some focus groups and in-depth interviews to really understand not only what's wrong with that conversion site, but also what their competition is doing right. And then we made recommendations about how to fix it. Now, what's great about the web is that they could then make the change and send half the world the changed version and half the world the original version. And they saw a significant lift that led to a tremendous ROI for them. The study paid for itself in 2 hours. So we were pretty excited about that. They weren't giving help when help was needed. So making help cues more salient is really important, number one. And then number two, the conversion set up an expectation that you were going to have to make a full commitment. And by reframing things and saying, no, look, this is a process. You're going to take another step here and make a small commitment, not the full commitment to a big investment financially. Go ahead and make that step. I think making those two messages more clear on that page was a big win for that client. We work in a variety of environments, everything from real people in real stores to a virtual shopping environment where we're projecting in high definition on a wall a store environment. We also recruit and do a lot of television testing, whether it's a program integration for our media clients, or the advertising for our advertising clients. And there we'll just recruit people to a central location, and they put a biometric belt on, and they sit and watch TV. And what's great about our technology is it takes less than 10 minutes to put on, and 99% of people say they would do it again. And they just sit there and watch TV, just like they would at home, and we collect our data. Innerscope has a biometric belt. We measure 4 channels of medical grade signals. One is medical grade heart rate, skin sweat, respiration, and motion. And then we combine that when needed with eye tracking. So we don't use eye tracking in every study, but certainly for web browsing, it's very important to know what's happening. Shopper insights, package testing. But for typical program content, like if you're doing an hour program, sitting in front of an eye tracker can be daunting. And the value of that information isn't as high as the emotional response. What Innerscope is interested in is the depth of the emotional response. So we're not going to tell you, are you happy, sad, or ambivalent? What we're going to tell you is more in a dimensional view, is the audience responding, when are they responding, and as in general, is that an engaging moment or a disengaging moment? Our clients use that to optimize their content all the time. I'll give you an example that we're going to be presenting on Wednesday with CNN.com. The study was, I think, very interesting because it looked at CNN news content and the advertising that goes with it, not on CNN.com, but through the lens of Facebook. And so we recruited influencers and friendship pairs, so people who fit the academic model of influencers, the type of person that if you get an email from, you're going to respond and read it, and then their friend. And then we had a control group. And what we looked at is, to what extent does recommended news content generate a higher level of emotional engagement, and whether or not that then translates to the advertising. And what we found was amazing. It was 5 times more engaging, the advertising itself, when the recommendee got the content from an influencer. Now, to your question, well, couldn't we have gotten that from self-report? We're going to show video after video after video of the focus group where the friendship pairs were sitting, and the question was asked, if you receive news content through Facebook from this guy here or this gal here or your friend, are you going to treat that any other way? Are you going to be engaged with that in any other way? Time and time and time again, they just said, no, why would I? It's just content. And we saw a huge effect. To give you a sense, that 5 times more effect is the difference between like a display ad online and a television ad in primetime television. Huge, huge change in emotional content that people had no awareness of happening. The question of whether or not the advertising content or even the news content was a factor in this study is really important. And we controlled for those variables. And the way we did that is that we had a control group that just looked at everything by itself. We took news content that we thought of as evergreen, stories that would be engaging no matter what. And then, importantly, we had the influencers choose from 1 of 8 articles, recommend 4, and then post it on their Facebook page. And then we had their friends go to their Facebook page and look at 4 news stories. Now, importantly, they were the same 4 news stories no matter what the influencers recommended. So we were able to control for the advertising content and the news content in this study. Now, what's implied in your question is a really important one, which is, does it matter advertising versus content and those kinds of synergies? Well, that's our talk tomorrow. Our co-founder Brian Levine is going to be presenting with Tony Marlowe of Yahoo.com, and they're going to present an interesting study that really looks at content and advertising synergy, both from the types of stories being told, but they're also going to look at personal relevance. What happens when a news story or content is personally relevant or advertising is personally relevant? Now, it's not going to surprise anybody that personal relevance and content synergy leads to increased engagement as we measure it on an unconscious level. What I think is surprising and important is that we can measure it quantifiably, and we can put that into a context, which is really important to sort of understand how big an effect is this and how do we begin to create a strategy. And Yahoo's already thinking about differently how they go forward with this research. The other exciting thing about this particular conference are the results from the NeuroStandards collaboration. This is a big adventure that has been taken on by the ARF. 8 different neuromarketing vendors participated. We looked at 8 finished ads from sponsors like Hershey's, General Motors, Campbell's, American Express, and companies like that, and came together in a retreat and shared the results with the sponsors and talked about not only our technology to the sponsors, but importantly to a panel of experts. And I think that's really important because there's a lot of companies entering the so-called neuromarketing space, making a lot of claims. And Innerscope is the only company that has participated not only in the NeuroStandards collaboration, but also gone through an independent ARF review. And that is an 8-month process where we really opened up our books and worked with the ARF to talk about what our method is, what our metrics are, and what our validation is behind that. And I think it's really our commitment to quality, our commitment to transparency, and our commitment to collaboration that has led us to participate. And we're excited to be a part of that because I think it's important for the industry to understand all these technologies aren't created equal, and sometimes people don't have the expertise to evaluate them. So to have a resource to go and look and ask experts and understand what the difference between facial coding and fMRI and EEG and biometrics really is, I think is important. I think the major influence that the sponsors of the NeuroStandards collaboration had is, how can we go from good to great? Or how can we understand the why behind the what? What I mean by that is, traditional measures are very good at telling you whether the message broke through or whether there was brand linkage. But what they're not very good at telling is, at what point did that happen? And I think part of the promise of neuromarketing and biometrics and measuring at an unconscious level moment to moment is getting that granular, high fidelity, high quality data that says, you know what, this is where your ad's falling apart, and this is why. And I think that's what got sponsors excited, is because then they could take those results and really work with them to take their advertising to the next level. And finally, we're also very excited. We just announced a global partnership with Ipsos. And that's exciting for us as a company because we've worked very hard to automate our tools and make them user-friendly, both the application of them and the results. What Ipsos brings to us is really global scale. We can't build facilities in China and Brazil and the Middle East, but they already have facilities there. So that's number one. Number two, the other exciting thing is we believe this is going to be the first truly integrated products on the market. What I mean by that, this isn't just taking one company's method and another company's method and bolting them together. We're actually working with the development team and the innovation team at Ipsos to create a joint product. The best of biometrics and eye tracking, the best and industry standard questions from self-report to create something really new. And we hope that these products are going to be priced in a way that will be accessible and usable on a broad scale, again, to try to bring research to the day-to-day business questions that our clients have all the time.